Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 20th day of June 2025. And of course, my name is Alexis Jeffers and I am here every Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. As I always say, I come here and spend my lunch hour with you, and hopefully by imparting some information while you're having lunch, you can be more informed and your lunch can be a bit more embellishing as a result. So, as always, let me start by greeting all of the folks who have joined us this afternoon. I'm speaking about all of the persons here on the island of Nevis that have Von Radio as their #1 radio station throughout Nevis. And of course, down in St. Kitts, we do have a large following down there as well. I say good afternoon to our sister island that make up the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we go further afield, Statia, Sabre, St. Bart's, French and Dutch St. Martin, US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, of course up in the United States from the eastern seaboard all the way across into the heartland of America, and then the western flank of the United States, which include California, Oregon, and Washington State up there in the northwest. Indeed, Canada, the whole of Canada, but more particularly those folks who are from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, who currently live in Toronto, Ottawa, Manitoba, wherever it is, all of those major cities there in Canada would have some of our citizens and residents there, of course, either living, working, visiting, whatever the case might be. Then we go up to Europe, of course, the whole of Europe, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, of course, we have citizens there. And then we come out of Europe and into Asia, and of course I specifically want to shout up our citizens and residents and visitors who would have gone to the Republic of China, Taiwan for some reason. I say good morning to you. It's just about 3 minutes past 1 in the morning there on a Saturday morning. I like to do this because, persons are some distance away from us and they want to know that we still remember that they're there, and we want to let them know that we're thinking about them and also wish them well. And of course, we are friends of the Republic of China, Taiwan. We have had this alliance for a number of years, over 40 years, and we always cherish these long-lasting relationships. And when they can be accommodating to our citizens, we certainly appreciate that. So we journey from there and back home. Of course, we go into our program as we always do. We have a set format. So let me start by expressing condolences to all of the families out there that are grieving at this time for the loss of a loved one, a friend, or an acquaintance, or whatever the case might be. More particularly, earlier this week we would have heard of the passing of Mr. Walter Morton, and I mention him because he is someone who was well known to all of us. At least he was a school teacher at one point, from what I recall. And indeed, he was in media, and also up until he would have retired, he worked down there at the Social Security Board, or with the Social Security. Indeed, I remember him from his media days. Those of us who can recall those good old days, we have heard of the good old days on another radio station, and also a program that was politically a politically inclined program where we had some laugh on a Tuesday and on a Thursday morning. Yeah, we laugh, yes, but that was his way of being political in some way. But whatever it is, it is part of the freedom of expression that we have here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And indeed, I will say that he would have played his part in whatever way towards the development of the island of Nevis. And indeed, I want to say that many a times I go to the VOJN Sporting Complex, and he's normally there on a Sunday looking at the cricket game. So he was an ardent cricket fan. He followed the cricket wherever it was here on the island of Nevis, but more so over there at the VOJN Sporting Complex. And also other things that he was involved in, of course. So he will be missed by his family, I'm sure, and those of us here on the island of Nevis who would have known him well. So I want to express my condolences to Curtis Morton, who is actively involved in the sporting arena as well, and one of those guys who are in media as well. I also want to recognize his other siblings. Of course, you have Lord Cam, I believe his correct name is Cloville, and then you have Irvin, who is also a Calypsonian, well, Sandopi. Curtis was once a Calypsonian as well, hard-hitting Calypsonian as well too. So it seems as though that is something that runs in the family. And of course there's Lawson. There is an older sister that she was a teacher at some point in the past, but I haven't seen her for many years. But I want to just express my sympathy to the whole family and all of the friends and acquaintances who are grieving at the loss of Walter Morton. Yesterday we had I attended the funeral service, a homegoing service of Vernie. I didn't know that was Roy's first name, down there at the St. George's Anglican Church. A lovely service, of course, and the turnout was very good. So he would have had a good send-off, so to speak. And indeed, anyone else who are in the bereaved column, I want to express my sympathies to you. Anyone, of course, who are, infirmed or at the Alexandria Hospital, I want to also express get well greetings to you as well. And I want to single out Glenroy Turkey Skeet, who is there. Just spoke to him just a while ago. We want to express our best wishes to you, Turkey, and we wish you all the best. And as I have said to you, just be as positive as you can mentally, and that will be the start to good things in terms of your overall recovery. But we want you to recover so that you can be on your feet again to make your contributions as you normally do towards the development of the island of Nevis. And anyone else who are going through some challenging times at this particular point in time, I want to wish you well and wish you God's blessings and a speedy recovery. Moving right along, sometimes we have challenging times, difficult times, losses, yes, but there's also celebration out there right now, and I want to express best wishes to all those who are celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, or some significant or milestone or some major accomplishment. I want to say best wishes to you and congratulations. In terms of birthdays, who do we have? Today is, and I hope I'm correct because I was corrected last week with one particular person who was celebrated on Saturday of last week, and I did say the birthday celebration was on Friday when I was here. That's what I said. So I hope I get this one correctly, because sometimes you go on Facebook in search of these things and you get some dates, and sometimes it is correct, sometimes it is bogus, but this one I'm hoping is correct. That Janet Warner, that is the wife of our dearly departed friend and villager, Ruffa Warner. So Janet Warner is celebrating today. Janet, I hope you're listening up there in Baltimore, Maryland. I say happy birthday to you, and I'm wishing you all the best for this birthday and many more to come. And as I always say, celebrate as if it is the last, but we wish you many more. And in your celebration, whatever monies you have, whatever finances you have, spend some on yourself and enjoy the day to the max, as they say. Of course, today is also the birthday of Dewani Hicks. That is the son of Daniela Hicks and also the grandson of Nelvi Hicks. I see today is his birthday, and I wish Dewani, I wish you well. And of course, your family would make sure that they rally around you so that you can have a wonderful day today. Yesterday, I believe, was the birthday of Ethelyn Wilkes Smith from down there at Craddock Road, Craddock Road, or we call it Penny's Newcut Road, or whatever it's called down there. But Ethelyn, friend of mine, hopefully you had a wonderful day yesterday. And of course, I do also wish you many more best wishes and birthdays to come as well. Hopefully you would have had a good time, as I said. Also, I just want to single out this one because this is for Tuesday of next week, the 24th of June. I see that Renwick Jeffers, aka JR, is celebrating on Tuesday of this upcoming week. I know why I singled out JR because JR know how to have a good time, and I know come Tuesday he's gonna have a celebratory time, if I can put it that way. JR, whenever the time comes, I'm gonna look you up because I probably would have a drink with you as well, as they say, knock glass with you. So I'll see how that is once we get to Tuesday the 24th. I'll look you up for sure. And of course, anyone else who will be celebrating over this weekend and in the upcoming week, I say happy birthday to you in advance. Okay? Moving right along from there, of course, today is the 20th of June, and research have shown that today is the longest day of the year. Usually it's the 21st of June. That is still considered the longest day of the year. That is the 21st of June. But because of different changes and phenomena, it is considered the longest day today, the 20th of June. And summer starts today as well. This is the official start of the summer period. Of course, we've had the start of the hurricane season on the 1st of June. And we are almost at the end of June, and like they say sometimes, you knock wood, because we haven't seen any major phenomena out there or any major weather systems as such as yet. And I say as yet because we still expect, and that is what can happen during the hurricane season, which goes down until the 30th of November. So we keep our fingers crossed, we look to the east, and we hope for the best. But so far so good. And of course, we just continue to pray that God will continue to provide us with tranquility of weather, as we have been getting over the last couple of weeks, where we have some sunlight, yes, but also some rain mixed in between. And of course, the rain is always welcome, because that is what causes our farmers to smile and their crops to thrive. So that is why we love to get the rain, yeah? Moving right along from there, of course, this afternoon, my understanding, not my understanding, it is a fact that Culturama will be launched this afternoon down there in Charlestown. I'm inviting one and all to go on out and be a part of the celebration. Start of our 51st anniversary of Culturama. And I believe they'll have the launch of the senior pageants, and also other contestants who will be a part of Culturama 51. So that is an activity this afternoon that should not be missed. They have a list of performers and a list of performances that will be a part of this launch this afternoon. I'm not so sure of the time, but you can check Facebook and also the Culturama website or Facebook and whatever their Facebook page is. Do so. And those of you who are here on the island, make a call. But be in Charlestown this afternoon for the launch of Culturama. I made a note of it, but I did not get to check all the details. But I know for a fact that the launch takes place this afternoon. And we've heard about that on Von Radio. We've heard about it on different social media platforms. So the word is out. And they're anticipating a good show down there this afternoon. Okay? Tomorrow is the 11th staging of the Bandsgut Breadfruit Festival up there in Bandsgut. I'm inviting one and all to go on up. It starts at 12 noon and goes down until. So there'll be breadfruit dishes, displays, and all sorts of things will be made out of breadfruit. The Department or Ministry of Community Affairs will be hosting this event up there at the Bandsgut Community Center. And I'm inviting one and all to go on out and be a part of this celebration. You see, we have quite a number of activities that are listed on the calendar of activities throughout the year. Of course, we'll speak about Mango Festival and other things to come. But of course, this one, the 11th staging of the Bandsgut Breadfruit Festival, is one that is important. Breadfruit is a major item when it comes to preparing dishes here on the island of Nevis. And of course, there's so many things that you can do with this versatile fruit. and that is, you can make flour, you can make breadfruit cheesy, you can make breadfruit salad, you can make breadfruit anything. Or you can just have it just as breadfruit. In our day, if I can go back a little, we used to have breadfruit and mackerel, for example, for lunch or for dinner, and that was tasty then. I don't know how many people would consume that these days, but I love my breadfruit. Don't so much like this the mackerel, yeah, because of the salt content. Some will say you can soak it and get the salt out and all kind of things, but I love breadfruit, and I would have breadfruit every day if I were to have it available to me. But it is seasonal to some extent, so that's why when it's available, I have plenty of it. And so tomorrow I'll go and get some as well, some of those dishes that will be offered up there at the Bansgott Community Center. One and all, come on up and have some fun up there, yeah? And of course, this upcoming week start the graduation season or period for primary schools. And of course, those of you who are following this and who know about the various schools that you are connected to would know the dates of the graduation ceremony. And I'm encouraging all of our citizens to go on out and residents to go on out and support the young children. This is a momentous occasion for many of our young men and young women. I say young men and young women, or we can say boys and girls, however you want to term it. But we know that persons mature at a different pace or different levels these days. So sometimes we say young men, young girls, young boys, whatever the case might be. But persons who are in grade 6 throughout the island of Nevis are graduating this upcoming week. So there are a number of graduations planned, and of course these occasions could be made more momentous if we were to go out and celebrate with our young and future stars that will be tasked with the opportunity to propel the island of Nevis forward. So let's go on out and give them our support. Okay, moving right along. Herbert Beach, we have started our planning for Herbert Beach Affair this year, and as I said last week, it is truly on, and I've gotten some calls from persons as to whether we're having Herbert Beach. Yes, it's truly on. We'll definitely have our Herbert Beach Affair this year. Last year was a huge showing. We went down until almost 2-3 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock there, about 2 a.m. that is on the Tuesday morning. I can say we won't be doing that this year, but we're having Herbert Beach as we have done over the last 27 or 28 years. Yeah, so this year will be no different. In some shape and form we'll have Herbert Beach Affair, so that is to let you know, and we'll speak more about it as we go along and give you an idea as to what we have planned and what the flavor would be like down there this time around. But it is truly on, Herbert Beach Affair, that is, okay? Last Sunday we had our Father's Day event down there at the Malcolm Gishard Park, and it was well attended. Not as large as the Mother's Day event, but we know what is normally done for mothers. Mothers are special. Sometimes we look at our fathers as just, some other person, yes? But be that as it may, we're all proud fathers and proud dads, and we sometimes don't look for anything major for ourselves, but we want to present to our mothers the best, and we have done so on Mother's Day, and of course on Father's Day we were back there to make sure we can recognize our fathers. Our fathers came out and played their dominoes, had their different activities that they were part of. Indeed, I was there, and I did not come to be the chef that I was for the Mother's Day event, but I ended up behind the grill anyway, grilling some chicken down there for quite a number of hours. But it was my pleasure to do so. Premier Brantley was there with his usual apron and everything on, and doing his grilling as well of the what you call it now, ribs and pork and so forth. And of course, I always forget this gentleman's name. Oh man, but he was there on Mother's Day, and he was back again for Father's Day. He's always across here. He's one of those guys who is one of the best we have around in terms of fabricating steel across there along Point. Man, he has his Rollins connections as well. I forget his name, but anyway, he's going to chastise me. I'm going to write down his name. I'll put it in my phone so that at least I remember next time. But he's a phenomenal barbecue specialist, and he comes along and shows off his skills anyway. And we thank him for that for sure. And of course, it was, when it's all said and done, it was a lovely afternoon down there at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. Okay, let's move on further as well. There quickly, I'm getting some, some information out of the way so that we can get to one or two things that I want to discuss. Of course, the Whit Monday fundraiser, that was 2 Mondays ago, and indeed that was, in my opinion, a success. The fact that we would have had that event, the 4th staging of it, in my opinion, was a success to start with, in terms of us putting the plans together and executing those plans. And last week I did not have the actual tally of the amount of monies that were raised last week, but we were able to get the counting done. And when I say we, yes, but I'm not involved in counting of money, because I want to be as transparent as possible, and that is what we bring to this activity, to make sure that persons who we go out and ask for items or for contributions, that we take care of those contributions and be as transparent as we can, so that at least when it's all said and done, we can say that we put on an event and it is void of any controversy or any issues and difficulties. So the monies were tallied, and in terms of the receipts, we would have collected $13,149.04. So $13,149.04. And indeed, we have made the decision, once we would have paid out some expenses and so forth, we have made the decision that we're going to contribute $4,000 to 3 recipients. So we're contributing $12,000 out of that $13,000 that we would have collected, because there's some outstanding expenses that we have to take care of. And the recipients that I'm going to say publicly now, and we'll make the best effort to make those contributions to these recipients tomorrow. And that is, or the recipients are Alexis Jeffers up there in Fountain. Should have had some challenges with some medical concerns, and we're just making that contribution so that at least if there are any prescriptions to be filled, or any items that need to be bought to relieve some of the stress and difficulties, you will receive $4,000 hopefully tomorrow afternoon. Iola Benson Jones, fella they call Perry, he also have some challenges as well, and we will be presenting $4,000 to him tomorrow. And then up in Brick Hill, Russell Brown, we call him Kiki sometimes, that is his nickname, will make a contribution to you as well tomorrow, Russell. So those are the 3 recipients for this year's event, and we will make those contributions or those donation to those persons hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, since we have now tallied up and made the necessary accounting that we had to do. Okay, so that takes care of that. And of course, last week I did not mention, and for whatever reasons I would have overlooked, my good friend up there at Zone 1 Auto, Mr. Franchet Manners, who every year has made his contribution. So I told him on Monday, I'm going to make sure I mention his name, because I want him to get the stage for himself. So he's the only one I believe I would have missed out last week. If I miss anyone else, I'm going to come back next week and still mention their names, because that is what this program is for. This program is to recognize everyone who contribute, and everyone who continue to make their contribution. We want to recognize them. It's not always politics, as they say sometimes. This is also a program that looks at community affairs and social events that are impactful here on the island of Nevis. So Franchet, he would have contributed his cases of island purified water, and I want to thank you, Franchet, for continuing to make your contributions. And your contributions have gone a long way in making sure that we also can make further contributions to the persons who we are recognizing this time around. And we ask the general public to reciprocate the efforts of these business persons and also those agencies that would have made contribution. Reciprocity goes a long way. It shows that we care for each other and we recognize each other for what they do and what we all do here in this community of Nevis. Okay, so any other contributions that comes up, we'll certainly mention those as we go along. Okay, so that takes care of that. Quickly, last week I started talking about the visit that the Premier Brantley and I would have made to St. Bart's. That would have been on Tuesday, the 10th of June, where we went to this particular summit. It's called the 7th Annual Carib Aviar Summit, and it was held down there in St. Bart's. It was from the 10th to the 12th of June. So we went there on the 10th of June, and we were invited to be there and to bring an update to the conference or summit, an update on the progress or what we anticipate will be done up there at the Vance Amri International Airport. So I was asked to make a presentation there on the 10th at 9:30 in the morning. We were able to get there just in time, I suppose. You can say just in time. And the good thing is, and I thank them for doing so, the organizers would have pushed back our presentation by just about half an hour. So the presentation was at 9:30 instead of 9 o'clock. And the reason why I specify that is because we had to leave Nevis, and then we went to Anguilla, touch the runway, and then return back to St. Bart's, because you know when you're heading to St. Bart's, you'll meet St. Bart's, of course, as you head northwest before you get to Anguilla. But we would have passed St. Bart's, went to Anguilla, and returned back to St. Bart's. So it really took us a much longer period of time to get there, which normally a flight from Nevis to St. Bart's would take just about 15 minutes. So this trip would have taken us about almost 45 minutes. And there is something significant to that, because in the past, when we had Nevis Express operating here on the island of Nevis, that was back in the 90s. Nevis Express was established in 1993 thereabout, and folded or went out of business somewhere around 2003, 2004, after we would have had these challenges in the United States with 9/11. But anyways, Nevis Express once had a lucrative route in terms of moving passengers, especially those guests from Four Seasons down to St. Bart's for a day trip, and persons would have gone there to shop and have lunch and so forth, and perhaps a tour, and then persons were picked up in St. Bart's and brought back to Nevis to play golf and maybe to have some spa treatment and the likes, and then back down to St. Bart's around 4 o'clock, and then the trip would pick those persons up who would have been taken there earlier in the morning back to Nevis. So it was a lucrative route in terms of moving persons back and forth for the day, and so that is no longer in existence. And we would have gone there, and we would have gone and presented a case, because there's some regulations and a regulatory framework that is in place now, whereby there are certain security measures that have to be adhered to in order to get into St. Bart's by airlines leaving Nevis to St. Bart's. I believe one particular airline is allowed to fly directly from St. Bart's to Nevis and back, but others would have to go through the same route, or even into St. Martin, perhaps on the French side at Grand Cache, just to do security clearance and then head to St. Bart's, or when they're coming to St. Kitts Nevis, they go through Grand Cache and do all kind of things just to get there and back. So these are things that we are hoping will be ironed out in some shape or form, where those regulations can be relaxed and we can have that movement back and forth. We see this as a huge plus for both St. Bart's and also the island of Nevis, in that the persons there in St. Bart's, the tourism officials are saying they would love to foster some relationships with St. Kitts and Nevis, but more particularly Nevis, since we have a golf course, we have some amenities here that does not exist in St. Bart's. For example, I just spoke of the 18-hole golf course that is available down there at Four Seasons. Of course, we have the hot springs here. We also have horseback riding. We have hiking trail up to the waterfall, for example. Some who are adventurous may also want to go on a mountain hike if they come up here for a day or two. Of course, we have a number of historic sites here on the island of Nevis. So we have a package that we can offer. Of course, St. Kitts will talk of the amenities that they have to offer to visitors over there. And indeed, you look at an island like St. Bart's, small island, yes, a population of just over 11,000 or close to 12,000 persons, but they attract almost or in excess of 200,000 visitors per year, whether by air or by boat. It is one of those islands that is being sold as a 5-star destination, and we also sell our destination of Nevis as a high-end destination as well. So we have something that is comparable and something that I'm sure that the guests from Four Seasons may want to come up, not Four Seasons, from St. Bart's would like to come up and experience. The feeling I get is that if someone goes to St. Bart's for a week, for example, after a couple of days they want to see something different. And so we can offer that here without competing with St. Bart's, but complementing them in many ways. And so we are reaching out. And of course, most of the guests that come through St. Martin on their private jets, some of them are pretty much complaining about the congestion and the difficulty and challenges. We are offering, once we would have had the upgrade of the Fan Samri International Airport, that there'll be a FBO there, what is called a fixed base operation, where guests can come through or airport and then shuttled over to St. Bart's in a quick time. So we are seeking to foster relationships with the folks there in St. Bart's and anyone else who would want to partner with us. And so sometimes we hear that persons are traveling and how monies are spent to travel here, there, and everywhere. And that is coming from those on the other side, when we as leaders or ministers or whomever from Nevis would travel to make those connections. I will say to all and sundry, there is no way you can sit at your desk here at the Social Security building and foster any relationship with any one of your neighboring islands. You can make a call, yes, but it is always important to go and sit and eyeball those persons who you are seeking to work with, because that's where that genuine feeling is generated, or that genuine relationship is fostered. I know for sure that there are a few islands who are not present at this particular summit or this particular convention, and the folks and the organizers there in St. Bart's were quite disappointed that some of these islands whom they would have invited did not come. And so they embraced Nevis, because Nevis would have come, Nevis would have made their case, and Nevis would have made their pitch. And so I am happy that we were able to go there and made that case for the island of Nevis, because as I always say, Nevis is as good as any and better than many. And so when I travel and I look at some of these islands and some of these countries or neighboring islands, I'm not here to compare and contrast, but when I look at what we have to offer here on the island of Nevis, I am always proud when I land back here or enter back into this federation, but more so Nevis, and be, pleased about what we're doing here on the island of Nevis to enhance this island and to make it one of the best and the gem of the Caribbean. And I went off to St. Vincent as well in recent days, and I don't want to make the comparison like I said, but I know for sure Nevis is punching well above its weight. And so when we speak about this island, we have to be positive about what we're saying. And there are those who would come with negativity, but of course negative people will always have negative thoughts, will always spew negative things. And of course, when it's all said and done, they're all one package of negativity, so there's nothing good to come out of negative persons. And if you're in the opposition and all you can do is call down the island of Nevis, I say woe be unto you. And I say, if that is the best you have to offer, then that is why the people of Nevis are going to stay in their lane when it comes to the CCM and continue down the track with the Concerned Citizens movement, because we're bringing positivity. And speaking of positivity, I was at a wedding over the last, 3 Saturdays ago. That would have been Whit Saturday down there at the Marriott. A cousin of mine decided to tie the knot right here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. They have roots here, roots right up there in Goathold. But anyway, they came and they would have had their wedding over there at the Marriott. But the point I'm making is that there was in attendance a friend of the family who is a senator there in Mississippi, a state senator in Mississippi. And those of you who want to Google her can do so. Her name is Rita Potts Parks. Rita Potts Parks. And I learned of her at that wedding. She came where I was standing and introduced herself. And of course, she's the friend of the groom. So I consider her a friend of the family because the groom is now a part of our family. Yeah. Anyway, she is serving a 4th term. But why I bring her name up is because she would have come to Nevis that Saturday morning, limited time, but she wanted to get a feel of Nevis. And indeed she came, and coincidentally she would have been picked up by my first cousin, Stedroy Dorr. Someone in St. Kitts would have made a partner in the taxi business, would have made the connection with Stedroy, and it was by coincidence that Rita, let me say the Honorable Parks, Rita Parks, would have, been picked up by Stedroy Dorr and given an island tour. So they went to Sunshines, they went to the hot springs, they went to some of the historic sites. Granted, it was a limited tour, and she was able to go to also the Cedar View housing development over there in Maddens. And speaking of the Cedar View housing development, a lot of our taxi operators are now using that particular, or going through to that particular housing development on their tours these days. So they're going in there and showing our visitors to the island what a true housing development is like, meaning nice houses, colorful houses, proper road, and the likes. And while I'm at that, I want to make the appeal to the folks over there at the Cedar View Housing Development. I am going to play my part in this. We need to go about having a cleanup drive of some of those trees and shrubs and bushes over there. So I'm going to solicit the assistance of all those who I can tap into to put on a cleanup drive so that we can keep that development, since it is now one of those landmark or stops or treasure spot. I want to make sure we keep it clean and make sure it is appealing and welcoming. It is a lovely development as it is, but we have to do more to ensure that we can keep it looking beautiful as it is supposed to be. So she would have gone through that development, and so the conversation that the good senator and I would have had, she said when she came to Nevis, she was blown away when she entered the Uwale water taxi facility, considering where she was coming from, and she spoke about the proper infrastructure in terms of good road network, and of course the properties nicely fenced and well manicured, and also spoke of the same housing development, Cedar View. And she said she went down to Sunshine. It was somewhat early, lunch was not available as yet, but the staff there would have gone above and beyond to make sure she get a taste of Nevis cuisine by preparing something for her to have. And of course she would have had her killer bees and so forth. So she went around Charlestown, she went around Nevis, and when she made the comparison between St. Kitts and Nevis, of course she would have said Nevis is the better of both. That is her opinion. I'm just relating what she would have said to me. But these are things that we all know as far as I'm concerned. And she was blown away by Nevis and said she'll be back. And I told her once she is back or decides to come back, just let me know, because there are many more things on the island of Nevis that she can explore. And of course, when she comes, she can either go by taxi or rent her own vehicle and be on her own dime as she go around the island and explore the beautiful places here on the island of Nevis. So when we are here knocking the island of Nevis, there are persons out there who are pleased and who are happy when they come here. As a matter of fact, the fact that persons are leaving their own country and coming to Nevis to live here and be among us, we are very happy for that. And it says something about the island of Nevis. So all those who continue to knock the island of Nevis, there are people who are rushing here and coming here to live and be among us. And every time they come, we are happy. Why? In most cases, they don't own a home here, so they have to rent. They also may very well buy a vehicle. They pay their taxes, whether Social Security or other taxes that they pay. And then, of course, they make their money, they spend it at our shops and bars and supermarkets. And, of course, all of the amenities that are available here on the island of Nevis, they partake of these amenities. And that means that monies are put into the economy here. Every additional person who come here adds to the economic value that we are trying to create here on the island of Nevis. And so when I hear all of these negatives, like I said, I don't bother, because I say, well, if these are citizens of Nevis and talking about the island of Nevis that way, there is something wrong with such persons. And it should not be negativity spewed just to get into government, because you cannot get into government by spewing all negatives about an island. When in truth and in fact, all of us live here. All of us see what is going on, and all of us embrace what is going on here. Are things perfect? Absolutely not. But I know where we are coming from as an island, and where we are today, and where we are headed. I know we are coming from a situation where things were difficult, things were challenging, and things have been made easier. Yes, still challenging, because the world situation is a challenge. Everything that happens throughout the world affects this island or this federation in a positive way or in a negative way. We have a war that is we'll call it a war, a conflict. Bombs are dropping over there in Israel and also in Iran. Those will have a negative impact on us here. Bombs are dropping over there in Ukraine. That will continue to have a negative impact on us. And if the US decide to jump into any of those, then we are at another level as well, more conflict. So as this conflict develops throughout the world, we will be impacted here in this part of, or this region, on this part of the world. So we have to understand that the best we can do is to continue to cherish what we have and continue to invite persons to the island of Nevis or to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and so that they can bring some of those foreign exchange monies that they have to spend, that they would have spent elsewhere, come to a peaceful place, a peaceful part of the world, and a peaceful region. And so I would want to impart those positive things, because as I said, we've had our challenges, and you hear all kind of things out there that Nevis is broke and all kind of foolishness coming from the NRP and the opposition. And it reminds me, you see, history is something, and I always talk about history. We have a history here in this island, we have a history here on this island, and we've had these conversations before. And the NRP would want to say, oh, the NIA is broke. Well, you can say what you like. It is a challenge, but we are paying our bills. We are paying our civil servants on time. We are paying our local debts. We are paying our regional debts. We are paying our international debts. And I can say to the people of Nevis that in 2000 and I believe it was 2012, somewhere in September of 2012, there was a consultation right down there at the Marriott, a national consultation where the federal government was involved, having this consultation on the economy. And none other than one of the technocrats from the Ministry of Finance, the PS of Finance then, and I can call his name because it's out there in print, where, and I'm not knocking Mr. Larry Lawrence, but he was the permanent secretary then. And let us be clear, he was permanent secretary under the Concerned Citizens Movement prior to the NRP getting into government in 2006. So he was well equipped to make such a statement because he would have done the comparison. And he said down there that Nevis was broke. And that created a huge stir here on the island of Nevis. He said Nevis was broke and there was no need for him to tell any lies, because he was there as the PS then under the Concerned Citizens Movement. He was there as the PS under the NRP, and he would have made that comparison, and he provided all the details about the economic situation of Nevis then in 2012. But keep in mind that every time the NRP finds themselves in government, we end up in the same situation: broke, incompetence, mismanagement. And that is why during the time they were in government, they never provided us with any audited report of this financial situation of this island. We only start seeing the audited report of the finances of Nevis after the CCM would have gotten back into government in 2013. Never did the NRP presented any such thing. And you know why? They were hiding the true situation, the debt situation of the island of Nevis. They know they inherited a sound financial situation, but by the time we got into government, we realized what we met. And so he was the best person, well equipped, to present such, and he did so. So when a technocrat speaks, we listen, because they're the ones who have the facts. When we as politicians speak, sometimes people would say, oh, you're a politician. For example, that's what the response would be. So I like to hear technocrats speak. And none other than the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance then would have said that Nevis was broke because the NRP was spending like drunken sailors. We almost had to fish the treasury out of the port down there in Charlestown, in the water down there. How far they would have sunk the treasury. Because everyone who the NRP felt was their supporters, here's a check. They had about 7 advisors, all receiving somewhere around $7,500 per month, $52,000 plus per month when you add up all of the persons who they had on their payroll as advisors. By the time they left office, over $4 million was paid to advisors, those that we know of. And I have to be very careful about that and very particular. Those that we know of, 7 of them in health and education, in labor, in culture, you name it, tourism, all of them, all of the ministries where you had a permanent secretary to manage the affairs of that ministry. They also had an advisor, $7,500 per month. Over $52,000 a month. By the time it was all said and done, well over $4 million was spent on these advisors. So you understand why this financial situation was what it was. And I don't even want to go into Nevis Housing and Land, because if I go into that, I'll have to spend maybe 2 hours to go into that and speak about the corruption that existed there and the wanton waste and those who were taken as they like they had the checkbook walking around Charlestown, even down at Marriott, down in that what you call it, down in the Marriott casino. They had their account down there, gambling away the people's money. And they think that they're so holier than thou. No, the facts are there. And when they talk, you think that these people, when they talk, they never were in government and they have a clean sheet that they're operating from. And some may say, oh, that don't pass. No, history would repeat itself if the mistake is made. You cannot forget about our history. And the history of this island will suggest to you that every time that there is an NRP government, no matter who is the leader, you have confusion, you have corruption, you have wanton waste, you have deceit, deception, all of that you get from the NRP. Because that is their culture. It is a culture that is ingrained in their overall operation and in terms of them as a party. That is their culture. Nothing new, nothing different. That's what you get from them. And so we can speak about them all day, but we'll leave that and move on, because as far as I'm concerned, the people of Nevis have certainly made their decision when it comes to the NRP. They can huff, they can puff, they can make all the noise. The people of Nevis are keeping their heads on their body and keeping their mind clear. Because as it is, there are opportunities here on the island of Nevis. Every day you see these advertisements or these flyers that are going out. We are now hiring. Employment available. I see Four Seasons would have put out something in recent times where they had, I believe it was Sunday gone, or some date it was, where they were offering an invitation to persons to come down to Mangoes for, whether interviews or application period for various positions down there at the hotel. And all throughout the island of Nevis, there are opportunities abound. And I want to say to our local people, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, you may not be able to put your hands on the job that you want to get at this point in time. But there are opportunities out there, no matter what it is. Seize that opportunity and make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities until the right thing comes along. And if the NIA does not have a position, the private sector will have one. And so we see most of the foreign nationals who come from our neighboring islands, who come and they grab these opportunities. And they don't just grab one, they grab two, they grab three. And more power to them as well, because they have come from their country and come here to make circumstances better for themselves and for their families. And so we have had our people as well who would have left here and gone to St. Martin, gone to Tortola, gone to the US and British Virgin Islands, gone to the United States, gone to far-flung places to make a living. So we have our people there, and some persons have come. But the invitation is still there for our people to come on home. Come home. If you are in the United States and there are challenges there for you, you have a country, an island to come back to. You can come back home. There's no shame in the game. Come on home, because there are opportunities here. And we want to ensure that our people are coming back so that we can build and grow this island together. That is a tagline we have out there. We want to be able to grow this island together, whether you're a citizen, resident, non-national. Let us grow and build this island together. Because ultimately, if we were to grow it and build it together, we all will benefit. We all will be the recipient of the good things that emanates from our efforts. And so, the doors are open. Nevis is open for business. I don't care what the opposition say at this point in time. They can knock the airport, they can knock the hospital, knock everything. Rome was not built in one day, but I know for sure it was burnt down in one day. It was not built in one day, but it took one match to burn it down in one day. So if they want to burn down the island of Nevis, go ahead and burn it down. That would be regrettable, I'm sure. But I want to say to the people of Nevis, let us continue to keep our shoulders to the plow, to build the island of Nevis, and to make sure that we can make this island a gem, as I said before. Back to the airport quickly. We are making some significant progress. There were one or two things that would have held us up over the past couple of weeks, and we are heading in the right direction in terms of ironing out some of the challenges and difficulties. But we haven't stopped working, because of course the design that we know we have to get to construct the runway and the expansion of the terminal, those designs are being worked on. I believe they're about 70% complete. Of course, let's back up and say the road design is completed. The drawings for the fire hall is completed. The design work on the expansion of the terminal is ongoing. The runway is ongoing. But here's the good thing. The design process does not have to be completed, fully completed for us to get started. As far as I'm concerned, as soon as we're able to get hold of the lands that we hope to acquire here in short order, because from what I understand is that those clauses that should be ironed out should be done so in short order, to get that drawdown in place so we can move forward with the payment for those lands for the persons whom we would have negotiated with. And so once we can get that out of the way, we are ready to move. And so in short order, we should be able to make some announcement and pronouncements. Those on the other side seem to want to make them for us, but we as a party in government, and I know all of us who are associated with this project and in government, we normally would say something when we have something to say and something to be provided to the Nivision public. There's no need to talk about things that are not yet a reality. This is not like the NRP of old when they talk about geothermal for 6.5 years and had a christening party down in Charlestown when there was nothing on the horizon called geothermal. That is not how we operate. Once we have the information, and questions will be asked every day. Questions will be asked every week and every month. When is the airport to start? And of course, we haven't given anyone a precise date. We were hoping that earlier this year we could have moved forward because the loan for those lands was approved, from my understanding, in December of last year. And we were hoping that the drawdown should have started already. But there were some hurdles that we need to overcome. And we're getting there in short order. But I will say to you that as soon as we have all of the information to provide to the public, we're ready to go. And we want this airport expansion to be done because of what we anticipate will be the game changer for the island of Nevis. As I've said before, it has to be done because I am fed up of hearing our guests saying they have to go to this point or that point to get to Nevis. We want to have that direct connection to the east coast of the United States. We want to be able to have those private and business jets leave here full of fuel, full of passengers, and end up in Europe or in Asia, wherever they can get to. Because most of these jets can fly, not most, but the larger and more sophisticated business jets can fly for up to 14 or 15 hours. So you never can tell where they can end up. Perhaps in Asia somewhere, I don't know. But of course, Europe, of course. Yeah? And so this will be the game changer that we're seeking to provide to the island of Nevis, because Nevis have tremendous potential. We want to get from the point of potential to reality. And that's what the Van Samer International Airport expansion will do for the island of Nevis, and provide that connection to South America, Latin America, North America, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Asia, and the likes. Yeah? Okay, so that's what we will leave for now. I forgot to mention in closing quickly, Pangal. We have heard about this particular movie that should be, you know, this movie shoot that would take place here on the island of Nevis by my cousin there, first cousin Juliet Jeffers. I believe it is sometime later this month. She's already in the Federation from what I know, and I think I would have seen something recently whereby the main the main actors, the lead cast for that particular movie, Pangal, have been released. And I think I see here Mr. Winston, well, Juliet Jeffers, she is the one of the main actors, or actress, sorry. She is my cousin, like I said. She'll be acting as the lead role. There is Kathleen Quayle. And you know Quayle? Quayle is my last name too. I am a Quayle too, you know. So she's actually showcasing the Quayle name, and also giving some notoriety to her deceased dad, James Quayle. And of course, who would be in this? Winston Crook, Hadassah Daniel, those of you know Hadassah, and also Juliet, and other persons who would have signed up here on the island of Nevis. So look out for that and listen up for this. This is going to be a game changer for Nevis as well, to put us further on the map when it comes to the movie industry, an industry that has gotten a lot of flack here on the island of Nevis. But of course, this has certainly catapulted and transform the island of Nevis, because people all over the world are rushing here because they're seeing Nevis on the big screen. So Pangal is going to be, you know, a production done here on the island of Nevis. Listen up for that, and those of you who would be a part of this particular production, I want to wish you well. Hollywood is coming to Nevis. How about that? That is the way that I want to close. Hollywood is coming to Nevis. We have a Hollywood here already, but this is the big screen Hollywood. Yeah? Okay. So good things are happening on the island of Nevis, and let us stay positive. Let us continue to build this island. Well, my time is up because I hear the music in my ears, and once that is the case, then it's time to pack my wax and make some tracks, as they say. So thanks for listening. This has been another edition of On Point for today, Friday the 20th day of June. And of course, I always say, if you go to church on a Saturday, go and serve your God. If you go on a Sunday, do likewise. And say a prayer for the station, say a prayer for myself, say a prayer for the island of Nevis, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Ask for God's blessings and his protection. May God continue to bless us all, and I say have a wonderful and safe weekend. Don't forget to go up and support those folks up there at the Bansgut Community Center for the Breadfruit Festival tomorrow. And of course, I forgot, there's a walk tomorrow morning put on by Pink Lily. I think I'll be a part of that as well. So that's my show for today. Have a wonderful and safe weekend. May God continue to bless us all.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and